right
back. Yeah.
Yeah, but Bob's still feeling really just worn out.
Huh. Yeah, my brother-in-law had it, and yeah, he was wiped out for a few weeks, really.
Yeah, Bob just is realizing he's not bouncing back as quickly, and it's frustrating him.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So.
Yeah, your haircut looks nice.
Me, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Yep.
What do the hearts represent, Liz?
We know you have a birthday coming up, Bill.
I guess it's a happy birthday. It's Love Week, I guess.
It is.
Week.
It's always Love Week, but you know.
There you go.
Is Mike with us, Liz?
Yes.
Okay.
Bill, you can start whenever you want.
Okay. Thank you, Council President. I'd like to call to order the Environment, Public Works, Planning, Zoning, and Development Committee for Monday, February 8th, 2021 at 7 p.m. via Zoom. 3 ordinances will be discussed. Ordinance 2101, authorizing plans and specifications for 2021 street repair program, year 32. The ordinance is presently on second reading and was referred back to committee for amendments. The amendments are as follows. In the title, remove year 31 and insert year 32. First whereas, remove year 30 and insert year 31. Second whereas, remove Elmore Road, Eastwood Avenue to Corporation Limit and insert Eastwood Avenue, West 210th Street to West 204th Street. Remove year 31 and insert year 32. Section 1. Remove Elmore Road and insert Eastwood Avenue. Remove year 31 and insert year 32. Are there any additional comments? Mayor or Director, any comments?
Bill, if I may.
Sure, Sarah.
So just for clarification's sake, this is the street repair program tied to the levy that is going on the ballot in May, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so just for a procedural question, if we were to pass this and if the levy were to fail, God forbid, what would happen to this legislation? Do we collect that money in arrears and it would affect next year's program, or would it affect this year's program?
Very good question, Sarah. I don't have the information. Mayor or Director, can you respond?
It was my understanding, I'll let the mayor respond, but it was my understanding that the funds do not necessarily have to be encumbered until we're looking at, the results. But I defer to the mayor if there's a better response to that.
Mayor, I can answer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Through the chair to Councilwoman Waring, it's income tax, so it's collected monthly. So if the levy should fail, God forbid, then it wouldn't impact this program.
Thank you. I just want to make sure we're being responsible with our tax dollars, given that if we approve this and then something were to happen, I wanted to make sure we weren't affecting our budget. So thank you very much for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Director Single. Any additional comments reference to ordinance 2101? Okay, I move this ordinance be placed on third reading at the next council meeting and the amendments made prior to passage. Mike?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Maureen?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2102, authorizing bids and award of contract for 2021 street repair program, year 32. This ordinance is presently on second reading and will be referred back to committee for amendments. Once again, the amendments are as follows. Entitled, remove year 31 and insert year 32. First, whereas, remove year 30 and insert year 31. Second, whereas, remove Elmore Road, Eastwood Avenue to Corporation Limit, and insert Eastwood Avenue, West 210th Street to West 204th Street. Remove year 31 and insert year 32. Section 1, remove year 31 and insert year 32. Any additional comments?
Nope.
Mayor or Director, any additional?
Other
Okay,
than,
go ahead.
other than adding the exhibit to the ordinance, there's been in the past engineer's estimate attached to the ordinance as an exhibit, but I'll make sure that that gets to everybody by the end of this week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, will this ordinance be placed on third reading at the next council meeting and the amendments made prior to passage? Mike?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Maureen?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2103, authorizing bid and award of contract for 2021 water line replacement projects. The ordinance is presently on second reading and was referred back to committee for possible amendments. After an inquiry with Public Service Development Director Costello and Council Clerk Westbrooks, no amendments are necessary. Any additional comments reference to this ordinance? If not, I move that the ordinance be placed on third reading at the next council meeting. Mike?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Maureen?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Thank you. The Environment, Public Works, Planning, Zoning, and Development Committee concluded at 7:08.
Okay, the Local Government and Community Services Committee begins at, I have 7:07, 7:08 PM, right? First on the docket is ordinance 2107, which is in reference to allowing the sale of alcoholic beverages at Summerfest. And so I want to open this up by saying, in the past, we have used this ordinance to allow for alcoholic beverages at Summerfest, and there has not been a lot of objection. I think I noticed Chief Shepherd was on the line. If I may engage you for just a second, I just wanted to double check that the police department has no concern over this ordinance.
We have no concern whatsoever. the events in the past. People have been very responsible, and we've helped out in any way, so no concerns.
Thank you for that. Does council have any concerns or objections or changes we'd like to make?
No, if it's worked before, that's great.
And this is something I definitely think a lot of people are getting excited about when they saw it on the agenda, because I got a couple of comments from people, and hopefully Summerfest can happen and can lead to a good summer. So
Sure. The only concern that I have is certainly not enough to stop the passage of this, right? But I want to bring it up. Should the COVID-19 pandemic still be raging, God forbid, in the middle of July, alcohol has been seen as a deterrent to following the rules. And so just as a thought, we might want to revisit that if there are pandemic protocols that we need to put in place. So I guess,
Sarah,
any other?
if
Oh,
I
yes,
may,
go right ahead, please.
our target date is June 1 to either go forward with Summerfest 2021 or to cancel.
Okay, June 1st.
June 1. And we have a meeting this Wednesday.
Well, our hope is that we will go forward as long as it is safe to do so. So thank you for that. When you guys make that decision, then that might be a good opportunity to throw this issue into committee and just make sure it's something that we are still comfortable with. But anybody else have any concerns or discussion regarding this? No. Then I'm going to make a motion that, oh, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to state that I had talked to Councilman Minnick and Kathy Urian from Summerfest Committee, and they had asked me about my thoughts on Summerfest. I know they're, looking at June 1st. I think that the Governor DeWine's treatment of county fairs is instructive to conducting Summerfest. We don't have any livestock, at least that I'm aware of. We do, we have we have games for serving food. There's somewhat of a causeway, where people will be walking. So, I know the legislature had tried to take some power away from the governor to regulate county fairs. He vetoed that legislation. So, his intention is to keep that under his control. But I think it's instructive as to how he's going to handle that, as to how, what will happen with Summerfest. You do raise a good point with respect to alcohol. If they do go forward, and depending upon the the status of things when Summerfest is going on, I know there's a capacity issue, obviously, with some of the bars and restaurants. It may not be. I mean, this will be outdoors, but that's something that I think the committee ought to consider now from a planning standpoint, how they can, I'm sure there's a lot of social distancing talks and thought processes going on there, but I think that's one thing to consider as well, as far as what the capacity would be in the beer tent or beer garden. So we'll see. Hopefully I'm with all of you. I hope we're all there at the end of July.
Yep. Okay. Well, if there's no other comments, I'm going to make a motion to put this on second, subsequent, third reading. Bill?
Yes.
Brian?
yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Bridget?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Mike? Oh, I didn't catch that, Mike.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so we'll put that second, subsequent, third. Thank you very much. The other thing I wanted to talk about tonight is the issue, our city's response to systemic racism. And I wanted to give an update on where the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force or Coalition currently stands. And so we received 23 applications for the coalition. Obviously, the deadline to apply was January 31st. So I'm very pleased to see this kind of community engagement. I will say that sadly, one person has let us know that they had to back out of consideration. So we have 22 different candidates to choose from. And my recommendation to this committee is that we interview all 22 of them in a short period. And I wanted to get your feeling and your understanding on that. And also, Mayor Cooney, I know that you have some appointees and we have some appointees. And I'd like to make sure that we are not interviewing people twice. I feel like that would be a difficult ask of them time-wise. So I was hoping we could conduct these as joint interviews. Do you have any thoughts on that?
That's fine with me. I have no problem with that.
Okay.
Sarah,
Yes, please.
I think that talking to all 22 briefly is a great idea.
Wonderful. I think so too. There's only so much you can learn from a piece of paper, right?
Yes, right.
Hey, Sarah,
Yes.
would we try to do this in like a week's time frame, or what are we thinking to try to do them all in? I guess that's a lot of people's schedules, I guess, just to try to coordinate in a short period of time.
It is a lot of people to coordinate. So my thought would be we need to allow probably 20 minutes for each person, right? Which is a lot of time, but hopefully, if we can talk to them for 10 minutes, transition them in, transition them out, that would work. So my guess is we're probably going to take 3 committee meetings to talk to all of them.
Okay.
And so I would like to get started as early as the 22nd. Is that reasonable with our budget discussions coming up, Bridget?
It should be, because we're gonna do the majority of them on Saturday, the 27th.
Okay. So let me just real fast. So if we take the next, say, 4 committee meetings to interview these 22 people, I think we can do that. Liz, could I ask you to start coordinating over the next 4 committee meetings slots? I don't know if you and I can work together maybe to create the time slots, or if you think you can just pull them together, but maybe let everybody know that we're looking at a 10-minute conversation just to get to know them a little bit better and to let them expound upon what is on their application.
Okay.
The other thing I was thinking is perhaps council should have 2 questions that they would like to ask, and then follow-ups. And then Mayor Cooney, if you had 2 questions you would like to ask, plus follow-ups. That way we could create a much more consistent interview process across the board.
Great idea.
Agree.
Sarah, if I may ask, I don't have a calendar in front of me, but is this a 5 Sunday month or a Monday holiday month?
This is not, I believe March is.
No,
Okay.
okay.
All right. I was going to suggest we could forego, if it was allowed, celebrating one of those and instead interview just to move things along. But if that's a moot point, forget it.
Yeah,
I didn't know if the Monday holiday is not a holiday. I guess, are we bumped to Tuesday
No.
for,
No. Council meeting.
We don't
Okay.
have any holidays, I don't believe,
Memorial Day, I believe.
during that time.
okay.
And just so you all know, the dates would be according to this schedule that Sarah's proposing is February 22nd, March 8th, and then February 22nd again.
March 22nd, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, March 22nd, yes.
Okay.
Is there any possibility that we could do like a special meeting and do like even more interviews to try to make it a little more make it a little quicker? You know what I mean? Rather than doing only the Mondays of the committee, like putting a special meeting in and doing an extra evening sometime.
Do you want to wait and see what response I get back from the slots first, and then maybe do
Yeah,
that?
well, I guess the idea was like if we could pick a Wednesday or a Thursday and have, make sure it's properly advertised and everything and follow all the rules, and we could do like it doesn't have to be on a Monday of a committee. I'm just trying to think outside the box on, because obviously we don't want this to drag on or take too long. So if we had a special day that wasn't a Monday, maybe we could get more done, save a little bit of time. So just a thought.
Right, Greg. I agree with Greg if that's possible, because in even reading their applications, my gut reaction was this is going to be hard because there's many, many qualified people. And so in the interview process, if we hear someone and we, mentally or write down, boy, they're very good. And then 3 weeks later, it's like, boy, they're very good. We could end up, if you put them closer together, people stay fresh in your mind a little bit better. If we're allowed to do that.
I guess I don't oppose that. That would be up to this council. I'm trying to think, the next Monday that we wouldn't meet would be the 29th of March. So that wouldn't help us at all if we just took that Monday to try to add in, right?
Right.
I would almost say, truthfully, here's what I would like to do. I would like Liz to reach out and see if we can get people into the slots for the next 3 committee meetings and find out how many people are interested in continuing on in the process. We might find that a couple of them fall off. Hopefully not, because they were all such great applications, right? But it's a possibility. We also might find that there's a group of people who simply cannot do Monday evenings.
Right.
And then maybe we could find a day that works well for that group, and we could schedule a special committee meeting on that, like a day of the week that would work better for that group. Is that agreeable? We could make that decision after we start to fill in the slots.
I think that's
Sarah, also, when you mentioned if March 29th is, an open date, that might be a good night for all of us to be able to come together to review, the applicants and discuss things, because that could take a while. I'm trying to just know how we will proceed with this. We'll interview all of them, but then we will have to meet as a group to determine what appointments we want to make, correct?
Well, I think, Mike, wouldn't we just open the floor for nominations at the end and let everybody recommend their person?
No, I think we should get together and discuss, the different people we interviewed and see if we can come to some sort of consensus on some of them before we bring it.
So the 29th might serve well to do that.
Yeah.
We'll see. I guess we'll see as you said earlier, Sarah, as the slots get filled. But if we kind of almost all of us mentally note the 29th potentially could be a meeting to discuss, that might help us to keep that date free on our own calendars.
Sarah?
Yes.
What, I kind of forget, in the legislation, didn't we say we were hoping that they would start meeting in April?
I don't believe we said in the legislation. I would have to go back and check that. I think we passed legislation with the date of how many and setting the application date, but I don't believe we said exactly when. We were hoping they would start in the spring.
Okay.
Right. I think spring gave us freedom till June 19th or 20th or whatever it is.
All right.
May spring actually look more like it outside.
Right.
Than,
Sarah, what time do you want me to start the slots at? Like, right at, I know because the ones in March at least are probably going to be budget too. So do you guys want to do those at the start and just do them for, I'm going to guess maybe 5 people. That's what, an hour, 5, little over an hour probably. So
if it pleases the council, I'd rather start with them because that way, typically we are all there, or the directors might be, okay with waiting a minute here or there. I wouldn't want to have a large gap between, we finished budget discussion and now we have 45 minutes till the next person walks in, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Should we also just start like 30 minutes earlier, like 6:30 instead of 7, just to give
Bless
more
you.
time for that?
Bless
If
you.
everyone else can make that, I guess.
Based on my calculation, if you do 15 minutes per applicant, you're looking at 5.5 hours. So you need about, a little over an hour and a half for each committee meeting.
Is it 15 or 20?
I said, I just went with 15. I don't know what the consensus is, but I'm just to give a, perspective on a time frame.
I think
If you did 20, it would be over 7 hours total.
a 15-minute conversation could be pretty telling, right? Especially being that we have background going into it from the applications. So yeah, Liz, if we can schedule them every 15 minutes, and being that they'll be done on Zoom, we should be able to keep everybody lined up pretty on time, I would think. And not a lot of in, out, small talk, adding extra time to that. So that's reasonable.
Okay.
And I'm not opposed to starting at 6:30 or 6:45 to get that moving.
I would have issues if 6:30 I'm fine with, but if we were going to try to do things earlier, I would have issues getting there before 6:30. But 6:30 I can is good.
And Sarah, I know you asked that each council member prepare 2 questions. Should we all channel them to you so that you can review them, so we don't all have the same 2 questions and then we, find ourselves staring at each other? Would that be helpful?
Well, I guess, yes, if that's the direction. I guess I was thinking, given that it's 15 minutes, we would only have 2 questions. So, ask one question, and then maybe I would ask one question, and then each council member would get a chance to follow up on that.
Okay.
And then I would ask a second question, and each member would be able to follow up on that.
Okay.
But that way it is fair and it is consistent, right? Because with only 15 minutes, we want to make sure that we're giving everybody a chance to expand upon the same things. And so my thought for the questions were going to be what experiences, or basically question number 3, what life experience, education, skills, or abilities do you have that makes you a good fit? And then I was going to open it up to the floor. Do you guys have any questions that you would like to make sure is asked? The other thing is we could expand simply upon questions 1 and 3. So do you believe racism and discrimination is a problem? And then how, what makes you a good fit? And simply have them expand upon those.
I think you're right. Question 3 is a good launch question. And probably depending on, the responses they give will kind of dictate where we go from there.
And maybe it's just a bounce off with that. Tell me one example of an experience you've had or a skill you have that makes you a good fit. Like ask for the example.
Right.
So Sarah,
Yeah.
when I was reading these applications for question 4, I felt like sometimes those answers were a little bit vague. They would just say they want to get the community involved. So I would like to know, how would you get the community involved, or what kind of education would you want for the community? Some examples and steps that they think that they could take or would like to see the coalition take.
That's a good idea, like a community outreach aspect. Is that kind of where you're getting at with that?
Yep.
Yeah, it's great. I like that.
Okay, so then, so we're all over the place, but I love it because discussion is awesome. I'm liking your thought better, Bridget. So maybe the first question is, tell me a little bit about why you would make a good fit for this committee. The second one is, what actionable steps would you take to make a change in our city through the coalition?
Very good.
And Mayor Cooney, you're obviously welcome to come up with whichever questions you would like to have asked. Like I said, my plan is we just simply have a standard set of questions, and all of council plus the mayor is welcome to then ask a follow-up question. You said, I'd like to take XYZ step. Can you expand upon where you might find the resources for that, or whatever that follow-up question would be? But that way we can guide the discussion both standard, but also a little bit tailored to that person. Okay.
Yeah, I think consistency is a good idea. I think we need to be, need to be aware that some people might watch what's going on with others. So, as we get later through the process, understand that maybe some people have seen what the questions are, but I'm going to think about maybe something specific, I think, from an administrative standpoint I'd like to ask, and I'll share with you and council, prior to the committee meetings, and we can talk about that as well.
Perfect. Yep. And I think the real discussion will come from the jump offs. You answered this. Now I have further clarifying questions about what you just said, right? I think it'll be a good discussion. Okay. Is everybody comfortable with that approach?
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm very excited. This is moving along. It has been a very long journey, but we are getting there, guys. We are getting there. Okay. Well, then I guess if we are comfortable with that, do I need to make a motion to leave this in committee, or are we good?
Sarah, hey, before we go,
Oh, yeah.
one thing, idea, because I've been thinking a lot about this, and as the applications came in, it's a lot of reading, going over a lot of things, and a lot of good applications, a lot of very good, and so I was thinking about possibly the idea of maybe even expanding beyond the 9, and just kind of wanted to float that idea out there, see if anybody has any interest in it, just because they're, really 9 was a number that we just kind of came up with. Or the idea of even doing like a subcommittee just to include more, just to stay with the spirit of inclusivity, because I don't think we want to send any bad messages, turning people away or anything like that. So it was an idea about a possible expansion. So just kind of wanted to get that idea out there, as we move forward. Obviously, we have to see what kind of interest people come back with, and how many of them are going to follow through. But just a thought.
Absolutely. So, obviously, as a committee, we need to make tough decisions on a weekly basis, right? Which might include cutting this down to 9. But I'd also, can we table that discussion, interview, all of these people, and if we find out that maybe there's a different way to approach it, then consider amending legislation, but start with interviewing the group that we have?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's why.
Thanks for that food for thought. It's a really good thing to keep in the back of our minds as we do interview these 22 capable individuals. Okay. Do I need to make a motion to leave this in committee, Mike, or?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to leave the city's response to systemic racism in committee. Bill?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
Sarah, yes. Bridget?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Awesome. Motion passes. The issue stays in committee. Local government and community services ends at 7:32 p.m.
All right. So Finance Committee will start at 7:32 p.m. and we have 3 things to discuss. The first is Ordinance 2106, the TAC computer agreement for 2021. I left this in committee because there were a few questions, and I'd like to thank the mayor for getting out all the information. Did everyone have a chance to look at that? It looks like the money, the amounts do remain the same. And it does look like the contract did expire at the end of the year, but this new contract is billing us from the beginning of the year, so we won't have, there's no lag of service or anything like that. Did anyone have any additional questions?
Bridget,
Yeah.
Section 3, what date are we placing in there?
Section 3. What, wait, what day are we placing what?
2024?
No, this is for just for the year 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're invoicing us through January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. I guess I don't understand your question.
Well, I have it highlighted because we had a wrong date in there, I believe.
Oh. I don't see it.
Well, my date was 2016.
Definitely don't want to use that date.
No. I
I
don't,
think that was in the original when it was sent, well, midweek when I said these are the new items, but I think I updated that before it
Okay.
went to first read, if I
okay.
remember correctly, yeah.
Because, yeah, I don't see those in my papers. So this is just for the year of 2021.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no further questions, then I'd like to make a motion to place this on third read and final passage next week. Mike,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
I'm gonna vote yes, and Greg?
Yes.
Okay, then the next two ordinance kind of go together. Ordinance 21 and 2109. 2109, let's talk to that one first. In that one, last October 5th, 2020, we passed ordinance 2040, authorizing the mayor to apply and accept a loan, fund WPCLF on behalf of the city. And it was going to be paid out of the Capital Project Fund 811. And Ordinance 2109 is replacing that ordinance so that the repayment shall be out of the Fund 510, which is the Fairview Park Sanitary Sewage Fund. And that goes with Ordinance 2108, which is authorizing McKay Engineering to conduct planning study for reoccurring sewer flooding issues within the West 227 station area. They will be doing a study and determining a strategy to help stop the flooding. Mary Kay or Mayor, would you care to elaborate on either one of these?
Well, as you mentioned, Madam Chair, this was something that was considered before when we had sent it to council. As you mentioned, it was 811 fund was what was in the legislation with respect to payment, but in the documentation with the Ohio EPA, we referenced the sanitary sewer fund. So that's why we had to correct that. So we apologize for that mistake. But it's it's the same thing we talked about late last year. And, we know it's an issue, and we're working on trying to figure out what we can do to help these residents. I don't know if Director Costello would have anything more to add to this, where the status of things are, or if Director Single can add anything with respect to the loan documents. But thank you.
I think we're moving along with coordinating our subcontractors. So our engineers are in contact with consultants that will use the data and help us place that into models that will better help us plan for these future improvements. So we are moving forward. We've had a meeting at the pump station on West 227th to discuss those issues. And early on in our application process, we had a brief discussion. We knew that a lot of road work would be done, and I believe using 811 somewhat made sense, but since our application referred to this specific account, it's much more economic for us to make this correction and use this more appropriate account. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions or anything about these?
If I may?
Yeah.
Director Costello, just for the people who are listening, could you give us just a brief overview? When you say West 227th, obviously it's a street near and dear to my heart, but I'm not affected by this loan or this project. So even though we say 227th, it's not exactly a true understanding of the project. Could you just give a quick overview of the areas of the city that this may impact?
Absolutely. This water pollution control loan will help us study the area that is sending sanitary sewer waste to the City of North Olmsted wastewater treatment plant for processing. And so the area of study does include West 227th and Macbeth and Haber, areas in the southwest corner of Ward 5, and the pump station itself. So we'll be looking at the pumps, the size of the pumps, what size pipes are in current use, what happens during rain events, and setting up a plan. And the beauty of this loan is that once we understand what work is necessary, we can roll this loan into a design loan. So we can keep the process moving and really have a well-formatted plan, and immediately following begin designs for potential projects, and actually another roll of the design loan into a construction loan. So it's a very efficient process that we'll be able to move through, but not quickly, unfortunately. It is going to take some time. So thank you for allowing me to give the high level description. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I love talking sanitary sewers.
It is, well, you missed our tour at the plant, so next time.
I will be there.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I just want to know if the pump station is going to have a similar monitoring mechanism that they had over there in the treatment plant, and
a SCADA system.
Quite the impressive system. The monitoring.
That was state of the art.
We're just smiling. She knows. It was impressive.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to hear that we could possibly piggyback on their system in this pump station. So certainly that will be part of the discussions. And so perhaps there is, while we don't see inserting a SCADA system, which is very is state of the art, we might be able to take advantage of it. So that's a good point. Thanks.
And if I may, while it just relates to sanitary sewer that's being pumped to North Olmsted, it affects everybody in the city, because when we do have these larger rain events and there are floods in that area, we devote a lot of resources to clean up for these residents. So there was a project in Clifford that did a lot to relieve the residents in that area of problems, and we're hoping for the same type of results here. And I think, again, it'll be beneficial to everybody in the city. And we again appreciate all your consideration. And we're going to keep, we've been looking at this for close to a year, and we'll be, continuing to monitoring it and give you updates as we have them. So thank you.
Perfect, thank you. So I'd like to make a motion to place ordinance 2108 on second and subsequent third reading. Mike,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
I'm gonna vote yes, and Greg?
Yes.
Okay, then I'd like to make a motion to place ordinance 2109 on second and subsequent third reading. Mike,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
I'm gonna vote yes, and Greg?
Yes.
Perfect. And that concludes Finance Committee at 7:44 p.m.
Thanks, Bridget.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the chairs. Good job. Okay, we will now have boards and commissions reports. Brian, do you have anything?
Yes, the rec commission's next meeting will be next Wednesday, the 17th at 6 p.m. That's all I have.
Bill?
Nothing, Mike.
Maureen?
Nothing, thank you.
Sarah?
Thank you. Just a couple of quick updates on the Fairview Park City Schools. They are right now figuring out how they can go back in person 5 days a week. A lot of this is dependent upon vaccinating the school staff who want to be vaccinated. So they have identified 2 vaccination dates, the first dose being February 22nd, which is impacting school. School will be canceled at the EEC that day, and it will be asynchronous work for students on the 22nd as the teachers get all their vaccines. And the next date for their second dose will be Monday, March 15th. And so school and the EEC will both be closed March 15th, and to accommodate symptoms related to the second dose, they will also be closed March 16th. And there will be asynchronous work on March 16th. So just a heads up that the school schedule is changing just a little bit, but it is hopefully going to lead our kids back to being in school 5 days a week. I believe they are targeting the week of March 1st at this point, though it's changed, I think, 3 times in the last 2 weeks. So soon, let's go with soon. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that, Sarah. Bridget?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Greg?
Nothing. Thank you.
Brian, do you have anything for roundtable?
No, nothing tonight. Thanks.
Bill?
Nothing, Mike.
Maureen?
Yes, I had, I'll just throw it out there. I've gotten a few inquiries in my neighborhood in particular about the internet service. There seems to be a lot of people with problems, AT&T Uvers being a chronic problem, that they're constantly losing their signal. They can't seem to get any thing resolved through working with AT&T. And I didn't know if, as a city, are there some providers that just work better than others? And does anybody else have this issue, or have you heard what is the preferred one?
I know there's other internet service providers that come to Fairview. I know Cox and WOW also do my area.
I didn't know if does anybody else get complaints, because that's what people have said. Well, does the city say which ones work best? And I didn't know. Do we?
The city has no say in that.
Maureen, in my experience, the internet depends on your devices and your location and where your modem is at. And, I've literally had every internet provider in my home, and they have all worked differently.
Right.
And if I talk to friends who live, over in Coffinberry or down by Bain Park, they're going to tell me that the one that they have is fantastic, and I thought it was terrible.
Right. Okay.
I feel like it really depends on where you're at in the city, which is not at all helpful to tell you.
No, that's what
my experience.
The complaints I've gotten are from probably 4 people all in the Valley Forge neighborhood. And so I didn't know if it's impacted at all by being near the metro parks. Then of course with you never get a person that you can talk to, so you're constantly rebooting. So I didn't know if the city had any input on any of this.
Maureen, is it one particular provider?
It's AT&T Uverse. Yeah.
Maureen, I don't think it's specific to Fairview. I'm in Lakewood and I have Uverse and I have the same issue.
Okay.
And I mean, one thing you might offer them, they may not, I know I called, I think it was last month. It's been a little better this month, but I called and actually told them about that and they test your speed or whatever, but they did issue me a partial credit for my internet service for
Okay.
having that issue. So maybe that's something you can offer.
At least, yeah. All righty. Okay. I didn't know if Fairview had any comment across the board, but that's good to know, Liz. I'll pass that along. Thank you. Okay. Other than that, I have nothing else to inquire about. Thank you.
Thanks, Maureen. Sarah, do you have anything?
I do. I have two quick things, possibly both for Director Costello. So the first thing is, and we'll never get tired of asking this question, there's a lot of social media happening with Earth Fair telling people that they are COVID impacted and not aware of opening. Do we have any update other than the architect came in looking for plans for an undisclosed company?
So I did contact the management company. They forwarded some of the contacts at Earth Fair to us, and we haven't heard back from them after sending them an email beginning of last week. So we'll follow up again tomorrow with them. But it sounded more promising, even though I caution no permits have been pulled as of today. So my email to them was that if there was work to be done and permits should be secured early on so that we can work together with them and make sure that there's no delay in any certificate of occupancy. So trying to sneak my way in there for some extra information, which I will pass along to everyone as soon as I get it, but still promising, but haven't had the official permit land with our building department as of today. So we'll keep you updated.
It's just a fun cat and mouse game at this point. Can we post on their social media and get them to admit it, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for that update. I know you probably are very well equipped to answer that now weekly for us.
Well, I'm watching my emails like crazy, but
yes. The other question I had was just an update on the West 220th water main break and if we have been prioritized yet to have that fixed.
It has been assigned to a Cleveland Division of Water subcontractor, and I believe it's my opinion that they were pulled over to 226 for a really large break that the water was, coming up off the ground. It was such a large break. So I have this cold weather. We have breaks that have developed on West 227th, West 202, 226, this one on 220. There's been one at North Park and Eaton. So they're just, popping up. It's that time of year. But they have promised me that West 227 is in the queue and we should see some action on it very soon.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the
You're
update.
welcome.
I really do. And that's all for me this evening.
Thanks, Bridget.
I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, just one thing. Happy to report Bippy Bop had it for its opening on February 4th, I think it was, and it was delicious. So that's all I really have.
Hey, Liz, do you have anything you want to share with council this evening?
I do not, sorry.
Hey, Mayor Cooney, did you have anything?
No, nothing this evening. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to entertain a motion to move council into executive session to discuss details relative to the security arrangements and emergency response protocols for a public body or public office. Disclosures of the matters discussed could reasonably be expected to jeopardize the security of the public body or public office.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll on the motion to move into executive session?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes,
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
The motion carries. Council is now in executive session. You're gonna have to close out this link and open up the separate link.
Okay.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Night.